Hi, everybody. It's Jill Nichols-Hicks here, speaking to you about Illuminating Women's upcoming conference on March 2nd called Ignite Your Radiance. And I'm so excited to bring to you today our keynote speaker all the way from Nashville, Tennessee, who will be coming to us here in Seattle and Woodinville. Our conference is in Woodinville at the Brightwater Education Center. And I'm just so excited to bring this woman on. And as you can see here, I love to introduce all of you to this amazing woman. Her name is Judge Rachel Bell. And I'll just share a little bit about how I met her. As a lot of you know, I am with Isogenics, and I was at an Isogenics convention in Nashville. And I'm waiting for my team, and I'm just sitting at the bar, and this lovely lady was sitting there with another lovely lady, and we just started chatting, right? And all of a sudden, this power aha came on, because she talked about what it's like to break barriers and what it's like to feel stuck. And I said, you have to come and speak to the women in the Northwest. They don't know you, and they need to learn from you. And I think you'll just inspire and change their lives. And I said, what do you think? You want to come and speak at my conference? And she's like, sure. So I just like thrilled, because this is exciting. Because as you know, in Illuminating Women, we are about inspiring you. We are about empowering you. We encourage and educate. And when that happens, women thrive, their families thrive, their communities thrive. So without further ado, I'd like to introduce you to Judge Rachel Bell. And Rachel, Judge Rachel, can you just share a little bit about your history and where you're from, and tell us a little bit about you.
Okay, well, how are you doing, Jill?
Good.
Awesome. Well, to everybody, I'm so excited about coming out to the West Coast and to talk about, breaking barriers and getting unstuck. But I come from Nashville, Tennessee. I was born and raised here. They call me a unicorn here in Nashville because I'm a fourth-generation native Nashvilleian, and most people are implants here. But I guess I'm a rare individual to actually be raised and grow up here in Nashville, Tennessee. But I was one of the first. Well, I'm the youngest judge here elected in Davidson County several years ago. So I've been a judge almost 7 years now. But my story kind of grows up, I grew up in an African-American community, went to school in a predominantly white community. So learned a little bit about both sides of humanity, realized at a very young age, I'm not Catholic, but grew up Christian, went to Catholic school for a period of time in my life, and realized at that time that fairness was very important. Hearing both sides, the kids and the teachers and the nuns, we would have our days and times where somebody may get in trouble, or somebody may have wanted something a certain way and another student wanted something another way. But I realized at that time that there was a side where both sides could be heard: the teacher, the student, the parent, maybe the teacher and the student. And I kind of grew up really focusing on what was fair. So I knew at a young age I wanted to be a judge, which is kind of rare. And I kind of grew up really, really centering myself on what was right and what was fair my whole life, literally up until this moment, talking to y'all right now. But at a young age, I was diagnosed with diabetes. At 13 years old, I was an avid basketball player. Coming out of high school, I was ranked #2 in the state for women's basketball. So pretty good. Was recruited by Pat Summer at the UT. Didn't end up going to UT, but ended up getting a scholarship at Auburn University. And that was like a huge time for me, because I was diagnosed diabetic. I think that was a drawback from some coaches to give me an NCAA scholarship. Ended up getting my scholarship, won the SEC championship my freshman year in college. But then after that, had some medical complications, so I had to end up taking a medical red shirt for a year. And I could have kept my scholarship for the whole time, but as a person, I was like, I came to college. I was going to, do well because I'm, pretty bright student, but I wanted to play basketball. So I figured out what I needed to do to petition the NCAA to get my basketball scholarship back. Had to go through a year study with the doctors here in Vanderbilt for my diabetes. Ended up transferring from Auburn to the University of Memphis. Had to walk onto the basketball team to prove my worth to the coach. The coach, after my first semester, said, okay, we're going to petition to get your scholarship back with the NCAA, and we're going to give you your basketball scholarship back. So I was no longer a walk-on. I was a scholarship athlete. Finished up my basketball career there. Wanted to go to law school, went on to go to law school, in law school, was diagnosed with a thyroid condition, you know, had a very hard summer semester with diabetes and my thyroid condition. I think I recovered from about 6 or 8 diabetic comas during that summer. Finished up law school by the grace of God, not having to take a semester off or waive that semester. Ended up passing the bar the first time, which was pretty, you know, it's a hard test, most people know, but I was excited that I did pass the first time. Started my own law firm, so I never worked for a law firm. Always, my dad believed and my parents believed in entrepreneurship, so ended up hanging out a shingle, the Lost Rachel Bell, and waited on the first client, and went from the first client all the way to running for office and then becoming a judge. So it's just, there are things that you have to go through that I've been through. Don't want to, you know, tell it all now, because I know this is just a time to kind of give a story. But, you know, from a young kid that really was a go-getter, I think I'm just kind of wanting to always see that things are done right. If it's not being done right, try to help others continue to do it right, or maybe even start something. My wife and I started the I'm Just Human campaign a couple years ago. And so that's one thing that we're doing to kind of combat issues and things that are happening to people in the world that are getting stuck, and how to break through barriers. So
that is fantastic. And your story is a powerful story. And it's one that I know a lot of women can resonate with, because we do get these waves that can hit us in life. And we're learning how to just be and how to ride those waves and to break certain barriers when people tell us no. And I'm certain you've been told, no, you can't do this, you can't have that. And you said what? You said,
well, you know, for me, I took a deep breath and I looked at both sides, and I was thinking, why do they say no? Do I really believe that I can do it? And, you know, there are times that somebody said no, and I said, you know what, maybe no to that, but yes to this. Or they said no to that, and I said, you know what, but I believe I can do that, so I'm going to do it anyway. What's the worst that can happen? What is the worst that can happen? So I take a deep breath, look at both sides, and sometimes I say, okay, maybe not this time. And then sometimes I say, you know what, it's definitely this time. I'm going to do it anyway.
Yep, I love it. So you've been elected twice, correct, as a judge here in Nashville, right?
That's right. That's right.
And you are like the first of the first on some of this, are you not, correct?
I am, yep.
You are. And so when we are talking, today is Martin Luther King Day. And I was telling Judge Rachel earlier, I said, I can't believe today I'm interviewing you on a day that, had it not been for Dr. Luther, Martin Luther King, we may not be having this conversation. You may not be able to have that. And he blazed trails, but you also are blazing trails, because you inspire and encourage women regardless of their race, regardless of their sexual orientation, regardless of their religion, that you just know how to say, hey, and look at that. Because you shared stories with me about being a little girl and how you just judged, you know, and you just knew it. And it's perfect, because as a judge, you have seen a lot and you've heard a lot. And you've watched people who have made mistakes, watch them transform and come out, and watch them get unstuck. And I think that's some of the beautiful value and the rich stories and the techniques and ways that you're going to come and present to the women at this conference as our keynote speaker. So I'm very excited that we get to have you there. One last question for you is this foundation you started. So your goal is for us as a society to just kind of look at each other and say, hey, can we not just be human, right? Can you share a little more about that?
Yeah. A couple of years ago, my wife and I were thinking, what should we do with the Ring the Bell Foundation? And the Ring the Bell Foundation is really connecting people to resources and connecting people to opportunities to help further along their careers, or pretty much if you're stuck, ring a bell, something should happen. But we started talking about, my wife's a doctor, you know, I'm a judge, and we see people first as humans, not this is a man or this is a woman. Now my wife, yes, it's a man or woman because of what she may have to do to save their life or to help them in a medical, you know, concern. But really, what is the issue and the circumstance that has brought them here? And we started talking, and he said, you know what? The one thing we all have in common is human. We're all human. So, you know, we need shelter, equal access. We need healthcare, equal access, justice, equal access, food, equal access, education, equal access. And the list goes on and on of the core needs and necessities that people must have in order to thrive. And then we say, okay, once we strip all that away, then we can get to, okay, you're female. Okay, you're male. You're Black. You're white. You're gay. You're straight. You're Christian. You believe in Muhammad. You're this, you're that, you're this, you're that. But what can we really center ourselves on and then work towards the common good for everybody? And that is to strip all the labels away and to realize that we are just human. I am just human. And it's the inside of me, inside of you, that makes this work, that makes this count. And, I know, don't want to be long with it, but yes, this is Martin Luther King Day. And there's a quote from him that has always empowered me all the time, that no matter if you can fly, fly. And if you can't fly, then drive. And if you can't drive, then, then run. And if you can't run, then walk. And if you can't walk, then crawl. But what the core basis of it is, if you can't crawl, find somebody. Hey,
somebody. Sorry, we haven't had her hike yet today, and this is her little way.
What's your dog name?
She's photobombing in our recording right here.
But the thing is, even with a dog, if you can't crawl, you have to find somebody to push you. And then who do you want to push you? A human, usually. And the person has the core values of what's right with humans. And then we'll get there to give each other equal access to all those things I mentioned earlier. So it kind of comes all together that okay, we still there?
Yeah, I lost you for just a second. So the last word you said, we all come together for...
Okay. Yeah, so we all come together. If we want to, we can all come together and say, you know what? I am just human. It's what's inside of you and what's inside of me that makes this world move. It makes us go. Mm-hmm. And helps us get beyond all of the differences that we have and all of the strife that we have. And it's not about who's right or who's wrong. It's, do we all have equal access? And if you don't, how can I help you get it? And if I don't, how can you help me get it? And then we can work together.
Oh, it just gives me chills, because I think that your timing for that is exciting. So, when I met you, and we talked a little bit about this earlier, I truly believe everything I have done with Illuminating Women has been a divine blessing. I feel very much led that because I hear from women all the time, their stories, their struggles, their triumphs. And so when I put Illuminating Women together, it provides an opportunity for women to gather in a safe place with other heart-centered women who are caring that we can reach out and support one another and deepen those connections. And just to sit there and meet you at a time where I was working on this conference and who did I want to come speak and what was the messaging I wanted, I cannot tell you what a huge woof this came down. And we shared a little bit before we started recording this. How did that feel to you, to have this woman out of nowhere that we don't know each other very well? And you said yes, because sometimes it's saying yes to those things that happen that there was a connection, and we just felt this connection, and there was like, yes, I'm going to do this because yes, I know you are supposed to be here. I know you have a message. I know what you're going to do is going to illuminate these women. Can you just share just the last little few seconds about what you feel about that?
I feel amazed. It's overwhelming. It's overwhelming all the time to me when you meet people and the energy connects and that there's something that you both have to do, or there's something that you both have a message to share. And I can't even put it into words, but when you know it and you say yes. Yeah. It's kind of like when I knew at 33 years old that it was my time to run for judge. And everybody said no. All the judges were 50 and 60 years old. And I said, no, it's my time. I got to do it. And you feel it. And it's like, you know what? I just got to do it. And so I'm real honored, and humbled and blessed to be able to come out on the West Coast and be around some powerful, smart, articulate movers and shakers on the West Coast that are women connecting and lifting each other up and pushing each other forward. And if it wasn't for women telling me you can do it, or seeing other women saying that they were going to do it, then I don't know that I would even be, where I am today. My grandmother, my mother people like you, my teachers, my family, my church. So I think it's important when women can share their stories, and it doesn't have to always be the same women. It doesn't have to be the same 10 women always sharing their story, the same 100 women. We can find different women and different people, different walks of life that have a message. Because I think we all have a message to share. It's just when that opportunity comes, you have to say yes. Yeah, if you can make it work, you just have to say yes. And you figure it out later. You're like, we'll figure it out later. I'll be there. So I'm excited about it.
Yes, I love it. Well, I thank you, Judge Rachel, today for taking some time and sharing and letting our members and people who are going to attend or are thinking about attending this conference to see and learn a little more. Judge Rachel is one of the first, she's our keynote speaker. She's one of the first speakers that I'm going to be doing these interviews with so that you can get to know them a little bit better. So mark your calendars, March 2nd. It's coming up fast here in Woodinville, the Seattle area. You can go to illuminatingwomen.com, look under events for the conference, the 2019 conference. Fill the car, bring your girlfriends. We have a full day from 8 to 9 is the marketplace. We're gonna get started right around 9:15. We have a lovely lunch if you want. You can purchase a lovely, healthy, or a garden to table type lunch. We also have an after-hour party to celebrate because you're going to be transformed and changed, and so you can get a new because we're going to be coming out of winter, and it's just the time to make these wonderful changes. So Judge Rachel, thank you so much for taking your time with me today, and I appreciate it. And everybody, please sign up for that conference, share this, and we will see you at the conference. Bye everybody. Bye-bye.